Agohp Real, another episode where we share some unedited, real ideas, real content with you guys, because we are tired of editors and employees and managing and so on and so on. Better be real, better be honest, and hear what you guys say and speak about the truth. Today I want to talk about why I love cars and why I have always loved anything with an engine. I think it is deeply embedded in humanity and masculinity, because for me personally, from a very, very young age, when I saw a motorcycle pass us on the way to Italy through the mountains, it gave me tears in my eyes. It gave me goosebumps, even though I was just 6, 7, 8 years old. I became pretty obsessed with motorsport. And then it was the first time that I was actually sitting in a go-kart. Was in Italy, somewhere in the south of Italy, close to the sea. I remember it quite clearly. I must have been 7 or 8 years old. My brother was 2 years older. My dad was also there. The first time I sit into that go-kart, I was overtaking everyone, bumping into them, no fear, and I didn't really scare them off, but I literally rounded them up, rounded up my brother, my parents. They were both very surprised about that skill that I seem to have naturally. But unfortunately, my parents didn't have the financial ability for a motorsport career. My mother is a physiotherapist. She always had the people with injuries, the victims in her practice for years and years and years after they had accidents. So she actually blocked me completely from riding motorcycles and so on. But at 16, 17 years old, 17 actually, I got my driving license early, or 16 even. I passed my driving license test. It was a 2-week school, so within 14 days I passed theory and practice. It was pretty easy. And then, even though I still was just 16 years old, I could get like this early driving license. It was a pink paper. But I could only drive cars with my father or mother, or I could drive a scooter, a 50cc scooter. So I nagged my parents until they finally gave up and bought me a 50cc scooter. Well, that wasn't a good idea, because I crashed that thing over the next year and a half 3 times. Scooters are a really horrible invention, especially when you put a 16-year-old on it, because it's kind of the fastest thing that you ever drove, and also they weren't really engineered too well. So I had one crash, was actually not my fault. Most of them were simply not, you don't pay enough attention and so on. But one crash was particularly annoying and quite risky, but gonna come to a couple of more accidents a little later. But this was my first proper accident on a scooter, and that is a car suddenly decided to turn left, and the front brake of a scooter is a piece of shit. It's worthless. So I wasn't able to brake. I managed to just get on the right side of the car, so I only scratched the car with the whole left side of the scooter. Basically left 20% of my scooter on that car and on the street. And in shock, just continued driving. Never had issues with the police, but wasn't really my fault. But yeah, when you're 16 years old, that's the stupid stuff you do. The second crash was way worse. Couldn't run away from that one, right? It was the middle of the night. It was raining, and it was raining quite heavily. And when I came to the center of my city, that small city I grew up in, the main road kind of ends, and you have to turn left and right. And in front is the butcher, the famous city butcher, where we always buy our meat. And I go off the accelerator, and I realized it doesn't accelerate. Turns out the accelerator was stuck. That little metal band, whatever it's called, was stuck. I tried to brake. It's very wet, very rainy. The whole scooter is just sliding. So I decided to just jump off that thing. And that scooter went straight into the window of the butcher. Well, so it was 4 a.m. My neighbor was a police officer, so I didn't have a phone on me at the time. It was the middle of the night, shit show. So I walked home, barely could walk, of course. I was injured. I walked 20 minutes home, slowly but surely, knocked on my neighbor's door. He lived above me, actually, and told him, hey, Wolfgang, I fucked up. I drove into the Metzger's window because the scooter had an error and I couldn't stop it. I managed to jump off, so I wasn't badly injured, luckily. But yeah, that was the second crash. Still, I decided shortly after to get back on a scooter. Stupid idea. Because on the first day of my summer holidays, so I'm telling you these stories because when you love motorsport and you push the boundaries, these are the things that you need to be aware of because they might happen. They will happen, and way worse things can happen, right? So I was turning into a roundabout, and another scooter driver looks at me while I'm already entered the roundabout, and he decided to enter it too. And while I was already in that leaning angle, he cut me off, and I tipped the front brake really tiny bit. The scooter went off. I had no shoes on, not very smart, and scooter landed off my left foot, and I was sliding against the end of the roundabout, where again it hit my foot and the scooter weight hit on my foot, and I broke my foot in 9 pieces on the first day of a 6-week summer break. Great. That was lovely. It was so complicated that it took around 3 months to get back, to be able to walk again and to step on that foot. The most boring summer break I ever had. I played World of Warcraft for 6 weeks straight and Counter-Strike. Terrible experience. But when I was finally 18 years old, and my mom would never allow me to do a motorcycle license, right? So on my birthday, 18 years old, I walked into the driving school and signed up for motorcycle license. Why did I do all that? That sounds not very smart, right? But I grew up in a small city with maybe 6,000 inhabitants in Germany, and I couldn't go anywhere without a car or a scooter or bicycle. But my school was a 1 hour something bicycle ride from my home. It was a 20 minutes drive by car to actually get to my school, and all my friends were probably in a 1 hour radius away from me. So I didn't go to school in the same city, but that's another story for another video because of my health condition at the time. So I was in the school of my dad where he was teaching. But yeah, that's another story. So I wanted a sense of freedom. I chased that sense of freedom. I wanted to go see my friends, go to the cinema, simply grow up and not be depending on public transport, on my parents giving me money for public transport, or this or that, right? So I went to work, I found a job, I paid 1,600 euros for that motorcycle license at the time, and within 2 months, I finally hold that license, and I had no money, so I begged my dad for a loan to buy a Suzuki GSXR 600 SRAT, built 97. I don't remember what year it was, probably 2008, something like that, 2008, 2009. I just turned 18, so yeah, that was 2007, 2008. So he gave me a 2,000 euro loan. I bought this motorcycle. On the way back from buying it, it turns out the motorcycle was leaking oil and had an engine failure. So I had to send that bike back. No, actually, that was before my dad loaned me money. That one I bought myself. That guy actually scammed me, and I had to take a lawyer and fight in court for 2 years for my motorcycle, my first one, where I spent all my savings on, ridiculous. And because I lost all my savings and now I had to pay money for the lawyer. I did have an insurance though, so I paid 500 euros and the rest of the legal fees were covered by the insurance. But anyway, my dad finally loaned me money to buy a working motorcycle, which was that Suzuki GSX-R 600 SRAT from 1997. And we went to pick it up. I was all over the moon. It was an incredible feeling for me, guys. So I probably spent the first 3 years, the next 3 years, when I moved to Munich, and then when I had when I went to school there and then to university, and I became a financial advisor, etc. Probably 75-80% of the time, I was driving on a motorcycle. I was crazy about it. Of course, even at night, even when it was 1 degree, -5 degrees, as long as there was no actual snow on the street, I was on a bike. I was on a motorcycle, driving around like a maniac. But that comes with a price. So even though it's way safer to drive an actual motorcycle, especially a race bike, than a scooter, you're always at the mercy of other drivers. So even though I never made a mistake driving, I never lost control of the bike, nothing ever went wrong with my bike actually. I had 3 really bad crashes. So let's start with one near-death experience that I actually have. When I entered a motorway, and you always drive up that circle, and then you have an accelerator lane to pick up with the traffic, right? So this was a new road. I've never driven it before. I entered through this circle onto the motorway, and this particular section, because there was a bridge coming just after, didn't have an accelerator lane. I've never experienced this before, but you gotta know that before I entered the motorway, there was a truck coming, and I thought, okay, I made an assumption that almost cost me my life. I assumed there's an accelerator lane, I have 130 horsepower, 120 horsepower, I'm gonna be at 80 kilometers an hour in 1.5 seconds, 1 second. So I don't have to wait. But it turns out I had to wait. I actually realized milliseconds before hitting the truck that I'm not gonna make it. There's no accelerator line. So I had to lean on the right side of my bike, leaned it really deeply down, make the turning degree more angle to kind of balance on this white line on the right side of the road. I hit the truck, the back of the truck, with my shoulder and with the motorcycle. And the back footrest on the left side of the motorcycle actually got stuck in this safety net that the trucks have on the side that no car or motorcycle can get below the truck. That's what saved my life. So I hit this with the left side of my body, got shaked up, the thing got stuck in that mechanism. So for probably a minute, I was driving on the right side of the truck. My back wheel was slightly lifted in the air because of that metal piece that was moving up and down within this truck section. It was terrifying, but obviously I didn't realize in the moment how dangerous this is. I just thought, how the fuck do I get out of it? So I decided I couldn't really accelerate because the back wheel was slightly up in the air and down. So I shake the front wheel and made the motorcycle shake to that this back footrest comes off that protection wall of the truck, and it worked. I accelerated really hard. I had maybe 60 centimeters because on the right side was the Leitplanke, this metal piece that protects you to go off the road. And on the left side was the truck. So I had this tiny space for my wheel and my motorcycle to actually pass that truck on the right side. That was unbelievable. I have no idea. I mean, I know what protected me. That was obviously God, because I should have died that day. I was just 20 years old, man. Would have been a short life. So it's crazy. And then I had 2 more crashes, actual crashes, one in Italy at Lake Garda. I drove into the back of a car because the police stopped the car in front of me. The police officer walked out of a unseen position, and the driver of the car was very old and overreacted and just dropped the brake in full, and I hit the back of the car. I was in a t-shirt, no shoes. I only had a helmet on, and I literally made a salto over that car. It was ridiculous. I was fine. Again, God protected me. I must have a job to do in this world, right? So again, God protected me. And then my last crash that really taught me the final lesson I needed was at the Kesselberg in Germany, close to Garmisch. A very famous motorcycle track back then. It's an old rally track in the mountains. It's very fun to drive. A lot of people lost their lives there. That's why today it's very hard to still have fun because too many young motorcyclists they died there. People die there every year. So in the fastest left turner, there was some coolant, some oil, something slippery on the road. So while I was in a left turner sliding my knee on the floor, I lost the front and at 120 kilometers an hour hit the bicycle, hit the pedestrian protector, this little limestone step. And again, God protected me because my foot, my shoe, my motorcycle shoe, I always wear protective gear, got stuck in the bike, so I never hit this stone at 120 kilometers an hour. Actually, the motorcycle hit it first and flipped above, and because my foot, my shoe was stuck here, it flipped me over and threw me away from the motorcycle, which if it would have hit me, obviously would have hurt me a lot. I just hit the ground with the left side of my body really, really hard in that moment in the grass. And that's all on a GoPro. It's actually on YouTube. Kesselberg zu schräg. You can watch the video how I crashed. I got really, really lucky. So with all these experiences and all these stories, I just wanted to tell you I got really lucky. So this was the last time I drove a two-wheeler in public. Since then, I decided my life is too good, too important. I have a mission. God has protected me multiple times. I understood, I got it. So now I'm gonna chase this mission and not risk my life with stupid stuff. Even though driving a motorcycle was still one of the most giving things and gives a pure sense of freedom when you're on that thing. I miss it, I love it, but my life is too good, too important to just throw it away and let other people decide, because most cases I didn't make a mistake. Things just inevitably happen. It's just a matter of time until it happens to you. So stay away from this shit. What I still do is I go on a racetrack, I go on track days, I go in a controlled environment. The same with the car. I don't race cars on the street. I go on a racetrack, I go on a Nürburgring and have fun with my friends, with a great community of people, and actually push the limits safely. So what do you guys think? Please leave me your comments below. What do you guys think about two-wheelers and freedom and that passion of motorsport? Did you have similar experiences in your life? Did you get away with murder like I did, doing such dangerous things and not passing, not dying? You were protected by God. Tell me your story below. Like, subscribe. I see you guys on the next one at Agohp. Thank you.